Blood of the Dead is one of those maps that is cursed by its initial release, and I really love this map. However, because it is one of my favorite maps, I definitely think that it has issues that need to be addressed, though now that a lot of the issues have been fixed since its initial release, I actually think this is one of my top 5 favorite maps. With a broken Easter egg at release, the divisive Black Ops 4 engine, those things kind of all muddy what I believe are the real negatives of this map, and on top of that, those also muddy what are the real strong points of this map. After all, Blood of the Dead had big shoes to fill with it being a reimagining of Mob of the Dead. Before we start talking about the actual map, I'd like to start at the beginning of Blood of the Dead's release.
Caught me off guard, devil.
Okay, let me just get one thing. I can't even.
As soon as I shot a shield, it crashed.
Are you
Always on this.
About that time, huh?
Are you actually joking?
It wasn't good. I didn't enjoy Blood at release, and there are a couple of reasons for this. The map in the game barely worked half the time, and coming from Black Ops 3, which I believe most people consider the peak of zombies, people were introduced to 4 maps on Black Ops 4's release. All of them had issues of some kind, whether it was functionality or even just reaching a high round. The game at release gave Black Ops 4, and in turn, I believe Blood of the Dead, a really bad look. So specifically with Blood of the Dead, what were the issues? Well, it was a combination of Black Ops 4 being broken and the Easter egg. Black Ops 4 zombies on release would have a higher and higher chance of crashing the higher in rounds you got. No idea why that happened. I will dive into detail about the Easter egg later, but long story short, when you had to flip around higher and higher, the game would crash, and the Easter egg forces kind of for you to flip rounds over and over again. Because of that, everyone crashed a lot, and completing the Easter egg was just a headache. This didn't only apply to Blood of the Dead, but it also applied to the other release maps as well. Classified being the one that got affected the most, since that Easter egg is just getting to 125. This, in combination with the Black Ops 3 hype and the expectations of the community, did not bode well for Black Ops 4 in general. Okay, so now it is current year 2024. It's been 6 years since Black Ops 4 has dropped. Patches have been made. And the map is mostly fixed. So, let's talk about the actual map. I want to start with talking the actual layout of the map, as I don't think it's inherently bad, but it definitely does have its issues. When you spawn in, you're in Richtofen's lab, a brand new area of the prison that Mob of the Dead did not have. You can see a lot of things around you, such as the Victus crew under ice and the Chronorium on the ground. Walking up the stairs takes you to Model Industries, which also serves as part of the starting room, and other than the Easter egg, there's really no real reason to come back in here. Again, it serves its purpose of just a starting room. Nothing too much to say here besides that. Once you leave the starting room, you're in the West Grounds. The West Grounds acts as an in-between to lead you to 3 different locations, though one is locked behind power. When you walk into the West Grounds, you're instantly shown this huge view of this open courtyard. I believe this area does a really good job of setting the mood of the map, and besides that, there's nothing much else to say about this area here. On the right side of the West Grounds, it leads to New Industries. New Industries, I believe, is the best new addition compared to Mob of the Dead. There's a fast travel between New Industries and the powerhouse that leads into the main prison. The blade trap is frankly overpowered. Has a monkey bomb effect that you can have almost 100% uptime with time slip, and a bonus is that it also works on people.
Oh my God.
Yo, that wasn't even my fault. That wasn't even my fault. No, I fucking called it out. I fucking called it out.
That one was my fault. I thought I could go that way. That one was my fault.
Especially during high rounds, where it has one of the less brainless strategies than the rest of the Aether maps. On the left side of the West Grounds is the powerhouse. When you walk into the powerhouse, you'll see the power switch that you need to flip in order to activate the power on the western part of the prison. Flipping you gives you access to 1 perk machine and the ability to open up the catwalk. Again, this section of the map suffers from what the spawn room suffers from. There's no real reason to return unless you need a pack-a-punch, do the Easter egg, or just restock on your perk. This isn't really a good area to train or camp at, and again, there's no reason for anyone to return unless they need an upgrade of some kind. Visually as well, there's nothing really interesting to look at. It's just a powerhouse. Finally, towards the center of the West Grounds, the catwalk. I'm very split on how I feel about the catwalk. As an initial introduction of the map, the catwalk both sets the tone of the map and gives a hell of an introduction to the rest of the prison. When you open the catwalk, zombies spawn sprinting at you. You make your way through the catwalk while zombies attack you and swipe at you from the walls around you. You break through and the warden says,
Maybe I should cook with sword. Rise and bring our guests properly.
in which then more zombies spawn with dogs. There's fire everywhere and it's just absolutely chaotic. There is a way to get the warden to instantly attack you as well, and it's by shooting him when he's there to welcome you. The main benefit of this is that this allows you to get the warden's key extremely early. Now this introduction is very cool and very epic. However, that is not the reason why I'm split on the catwalk. The introduction sequence in itself isn't a negative. After all, it sets the atmosphere of the map very well. The negative here of the catwalk is that it is the only way you can walk from the western part of the prison to the main center point of the prison. This means there are only two ways for one person to get across the map, one being obviously the catwalk and the other one being fast travel. If you don't take the fast travel, it feels like you're being actively punished for taking the catwalk, as mid-round no one's taking the catwalk as you need to expend so many resources just to walk across. This is an absolute detriment to the map since there's no other options to quickly run over. While this isn't exactly an issue 100% of the time, as you can plan around this and whatnot, this becomes so much more infuriating once you take the Easter egg into account. But we'll get into that later, trust me. After making your way across the catwalk, you'll reach the cell box. This is the main area of the original Mob of the Dead map. There's a lot of things that basically remain unchanged, and honestly, just to keep this video from not getting any longer, I will say nothing that hasn't already been said. This is a really good area, the atmosphere is great, and all in all, it's very solid. Main things to point out here are mainly where this area leads to. You can either go down into the Citadel tunnels, which lead to the docks, fast travel down to the docks using the gondola, walk to the warden's house, or go up to the roof. The warden's house. This is an area of the map that is really small, but very important for the main Easter egg. For starters, the warden's house includes the last dog needed in order to get the Hell's Retriever, in which the other dog is in the cell block. And during the main Easter egg, the warden's house is where the numbers are to get the challenges activated. The warden's house is also where you start the magma gat upgrade for the blundergat. I believe the purpose of the warden's house is simply to get in and get out. It's not built for training, it's not built for camping, but you could do some tighter training if you need to, especially during the earlier rounds with the dog. The magma gat upgrade can be difficult to get if you're doing it in the later rounds, but the earlier you do it, the better. All in all, I believe this part of the map serves its purpose really well, as there is also a fast travel you can take from here to just quickly leave if you need to. The infirmary. There's nothing much to say here, honestly. You have one of the perk machines here, the acid gat part is here, and it serves its purpose. It's just another area you shouldn't really stick around in. Tight hallways, decent atmosphere. All in all, very simple, very good. I don't think there's any issues to really point out for this area. Moving on to the roof. I'm going to begin with something that I said I wouldn't do, but after playing Mob of the Dead, I believe is important to point out. The most common criticism I hear about the roof in this game is that the roof doesn't have access to the Golden Gate Bridge. Now, I don't think it's detrimental to this map. In fact, I think it's unfair to say that this is even a criticism in the first place. Story-wise, it doesn't make sense for the premise crew to go to the Golden Gate Bridge. However, one of the things I immediately noticed when trying Mob of the Dead was how big the roof area actually was. Compared to Blood of the Dead, the roof in Mob of the Dead is massive, and it feels like an entire new spot you can train and do all this stuff on. While on Blood of the Dead, it's a 4x4 area with Pack-a-Punch. I believe this is an issue mainly just because why would you remove all this extra space that the original map had? Yes, the runway doesn't exist anymore because there is no plane. I'm fine with the plane being replaced by the Pack-a-Punch, but it makes no sense to get rid of the entire roof area, especially when it just adds more to the map rather than just remove an entire area. For me, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth that they would just remove a whole training area from Mob of the Dead and not include it in Blood of the Dead. And just to add on top of that, the roof is where Pack-a-Punch is activated, and the system it introduces is absolutely horrendous. Anyways, moving downwards into the map, the showers. Again, like the infirmary, there's nothing too special to note here. The atmosphere here, I believe, is better than the infirmary, seeing all the bodies hanging and whatnot. The area is big enough to do some training, though I would argue there's definitely better spots on the map for that. And just off of that, I believe it has more value than the infirmary for that. There's a fast travel from here to the Warden's house, which also acts as a point of getting the Hell's Retriever once all the dogs have been fed. Nothing too special to note here, just a very simple area that acts as a transition down to Citadel tunnels. So the Citadel tunnels is an area of the map that serves as a tight transition from the cell blocks all the way down to the docks. In this area, there's a shield part, fire everywhere, which we all know is an absolute Treyarch classic. And as you work your way down through the hallway, leading down to a room with winding stairs, this area with the stairs becomes really important as it has a, I'm going to put this in quotes, keypad to insert numbers for challenges, bonuses, and if you want to summon Brutus for fun. Making your way all the way down the stairs, you reach the docks. Now, an important thing to know about this area is that this also acts as a very important focal point for the Easter egg, which again, we will get back to later in the video. The docks is the final area we'll be discussing in greater detail. There's an area where there's a buildable and has a decent training spot. Park machine is located here as well, and the gondola is also here if you wish to go back to the main cell block without walking up the Citadel tunnels. Honestly, there's not much else to add here, just to keep it short and simple. The docks mainly serve as an area to access some important points of interest, such as the spork and the power switch. There's also a pack-a-punch location here as well. All in all, to sum up what I think about the layout of the map altogether, I would have to say it is difficult, but I wouldn't say it's a bad layout. There's a lot this map does well. I believe the west side of the map serves its purpose well enough to where you have options to set up over in that area if you would like a buildable, mystery box locations, and a perk. Main prison area provides a good challenge to traverse through with traps everywhere, with each location serving some kind of purpose, even if it is just atmospheric transferal of one point to another point. The docks and tunnels are like the main prison where traversal to certain areas is difficult, but again, each area has some kind of distinct purpose. I believe this map does suffer in recovery, however. If you want to recover after doing a high round, or if you're doing the Easter egg, you have to travel quite literally across the entire map to get all 4 perks. This section will be relatively short, as I'm under the belief that if you didn't really like the Black Ops 4 engine, you just won't like the map. Casual playthrough of this map is very enjoyable in my opinion. The Warden constantly trying to thwart you from progressing, going through the map fits the prison setting a lot. The cell block itself becomes very oppressive once you get into higher rounds, which discourages players from playing in there. The new areas, while relatively empty, do provide at least a fun high round challenge compared to the later Aether maps. Though, this is not to say that this map is perfect in gameplay. The weapons on this map are okay. Black Ops 4 engine doesn't really have the best weapon variety, a great example being that Wraithfire absolutely stomped the Hell's Retriever, and the shield being completely useless. The Blundergat makes its appearance with 2 variants this time though. There are 2 ways to acquire the Blundergat, one being through grabbing skulls around the map, and the other being through the mystery box. Of course, the 2 variants of the Blundergat being the Acid Gat and the Magma Gat, but the unfortunate truth is one outclasses the other one completely. Though I wouldn't say the Acid Gat is completely useless, as it's really easy to acquire, as you only need to acquire the buildable for it. The Magma Gat is a little different to acquire, having you fill up the Blundergat with souls in the Warden's chimney, in which you have to take a tempered Blundergat while keeping it hot all the way to New Industries to be transformed into the Magma Gat. This is where some of the issues with this map start to peer its head through, as you have to walk across the entire map with no fast travel in order to acquire the Magma Gat. While this isn't super annoying, the fact that we have to do this a couple more times later for different things is what ends up being annoying. Moving on to the zombie variety, I believe this map is really well made in that regard, as the only 2 special zombies are the dogs and the Warden. The dogs everyone knows about, so I'm not really going to go into much detail about them, but the Warden itself, I believe, is the strongest part of this map. He fits the theme of the map extremely well, being the Warden of the prison, but the things he does around the map is what makes him so great. Locking the box, tables, perks, breaking windows, and stopping traps if left unchecked are only some of the few things that he does as the Warden. He gains more attacks as rounds go on, gaining a slam attack past round 17. He also just appears around the map when it makes sense. For example, whenever you turn on the power in the main prison, he spawns in. He doesn't want you to turn on the main power, so he comes in and tries to put his prisoners in line. Thematically and as a boss zombie, he goes very well. He doesn't feel too oppressive, and his presence just makes sense on this map. Map flow feels complicated on this map. Mid-round, I believe the game tries its best to make you stay where you currently are and not make you move around. The reason I say this is because the map has small hallways and small corridors. This, in combination with Black Ops 4 beloved predictive spawning makes traversing mid-round just an absolute pain in the ass. Getting from one end of the map to the other end of the map is not difficult, but can always take a good amount of time. There are many parts of this map that either don't have fast travel, or the fast travel just doesn't go anywhere near where you want it to. The existing fast travel spots aren't bad, but I definitely wish this map added a couple more spots, mainly in the docks, to allow more freedom of movement on this map. The positive thing about this is that in most areas you train or camp at on this map, I believe end up being pretty good. The roof, docks, new industries, outside the warden's house, showers, and cafeteria are all relatively good areas for one to sit at. And finally, of course, how this map plays while you're doing the Easter egg. This map feels like a completely different map once you start doing the Easter egg. As strong as a lot of things are in Black Ops 4, that at least made it to where there would be a lot less setup for a map. For example, the Hell's Retriever is completely optional as you don't need it for any part of the map, but is essential for the Easter egg. You can go get the Blundergat through the mystery box, allowing you to keep your Wraith Fires if you wish to go for a high round. Once you start doing the Easter egg though, this map will just completely starts to play differently. The Easter egg forces you to constantly be running from one part of the map to another, so it ends up being a lot of running around. You need everything the map offers to progress. On top of that, moving from point to point on this map is extremely difficult, as I said earlier, and the Easter egg forces you to do that a lot mid-round. So now, let's actually start getting into the details of the Easter egg. I'm going to be frank. This Easter egg fucking sucks. Now, I believe there are two main reasons for this, and you can either take it as either or both of them. I believe this map has either too much Easter egg, or the Easter egg does not support the map. I believe some context is useful to know before we actually dive in again. This map was released during the peak of the zombies hype. I mean, everyone and their mom wanted more zombies content. Community Easter egg hunts were at an all-time high, and everyone was fucking playing this game. And this might be a little tinfoil hat mode right here, but I believe this is what screwed over the Easter eggs for the release maps of Black Ops 4. Why do I say that? Well, mainly because during Black Ops 3's life cycle, all the Easter eggs were completed in less than a week, except for Revelations. I believe that Treyarch's intention with Black Ops 4 was to make the Easter eggs a little more complicated and tedious to completely slow down the community and keeping everyone schizophrenically playing the game. What resulted was a complete shit show of an Easter egg, which on paper does not seem bad. Now, I'd like everyone to keep this in mind while I go into details about Blood of the Dead's Easter egg. Blood of the Dead's Easter egg can be described as follows. Step 1. Activate a pack punch. Step 2. Acquire the spork. Step 3. Break into the warden's house. Step 4. Get the chronorium from a thieving bird. Step 5. Leave the chronorium at the warden's house. Step 6. Do 5 challenges. Step 7. Escape the prison. Again, on paper, this does not seem bad. However, if you squint really closely at this Easter egg, it seems very familiar. Do you see it? Squint a little harder. Yeah, it is very similar to Gorod Krovi's Easter egg. Now, why would this map have a much worse Easter egg when another map has a very similar Easter egg structure to it? You want to know the answer? It's actually really simple. Round gating. I'll explain why round gating ruins this Easter egg and make the comparison to Gorod's along the way. The first 2 steps of the Easter egg can be done like clockwork. There are some preliminary stuff along the way one must do in order to activate the pack punch, but in return, you open up the map, get a shield, and receive the Hell's Retriever. After doing that, getting the spoon is really easy, as getting the funny 3 numbers on the back of these pillars in the warden's office, punching them into the keypad, shocking the crane, then acquiring the spoon using the Hell's Retriever. As much as I feel like it's cope, I believe it's important to mention this next part. The step of opening up the map, getting Pack-a-Punch, and getting all the unique items in this map is positive for making them Easter egg steps. You work towards something and not only gain stuff by doing these steps, the rest of this Easter egg does not feel as rewarding. Step 3 is breaking into the warden's house. Breaking into the warden's house requires you to have the spoon to scratch up the wall before you break in. However, breaking into the warden's house is technically round gated. Without the monkey bomb, you cannot continue the Easter egg until round 17. Why? The warden won't do his EMP attack against that wall unless there's a monkey before round 17. This is horrible. There's no reason why this step should be round gated like this unless there was always some kind of trigger needed for Brutus to break into his own home. Needing monkey bombs to do this step beforehand is also just tedious, especially because you need the Hell's Retriever in a later step. On top of that, there are only 2 real options to get monkey bombs. There's a free Easter egg, but that requires you to have your specialist weapon at level 2, or you get a monkey out of the box. Again, this is just tedious because later on, If you're playing solo, you need to transfer your monkey bomb for Hell's Retriever, and no one really likes giving up monkey bombs since they're so powerful. Now, I'm not a game developer or a game designer or anything in that capacity, but I know what I enjoy in my games. My alternative solution to this step would be to remove the round gating and give the player a reason to acquire other weapons and equipment. Just as an example, this step could have multiple triggers instead of just the monkey bombs. The monkey bombs could be a trigger, but on top of that, another trigger could be a magma gas shot or an acid gas shot. You could also just throw the Hell's Retriever at the wall, or just have Brutus break down the wall after scratching it with the spoon. That in itself just proves that this step was made more tedious than it needed to be. If you wanted to keep a trigger, you can use the magma gas acid gas shot, and it doesn't remove the monkey bombs being needed for literally just one step. On top of that, also just gives another reason for people to maybe use the acid gas, since people just swarm to the magma gas to the sheer power it has on this map. Anyways, after breaking into the warden's house, you need to grab a funny little orb on his desk, and then run all the way back to Richtofen's lab. Once you're in Richtofen's lab, you place it on the map on the wall, and then go for the Chronorium. When you go for the Chronorium, this happens.
Perfect. Now the Chronorium is levitating. I swear that damn book has taken a personal interest in giving me a nervous breakdown.
Yet, that was our book, you thieving ghost bird!
Yeah, this step is just fucking stupid. I can't defend this step at all, even though I've really enjoyed this map. So, if you aren't aware of how this step works, it's really stupid. Again, it frustrates me a lot. So, what happens is, when you find the Chronorium and the bird takes it, you have to find him somewhere on the map. After you find him somewhere on the map, you have to shock him with your shield. Now, repeat this 3 more times per round. On the 4th time, the bird will be invisible to you, so you have to get a zombie blood in the Citadel tunnels by putting in this code, and you have to throw the Hell's Retriever at it in order to grab the Chronorium. So ideally, if we take the worst case scenario from the warden's house, which is round 17, you're going to do at least 3 more rounds, and it will be round 20 when you can start challenges. It also doesn't help this step that you get 0 indication of where the bird is unless it's the 4th time, which it will always be in the docks. But since it's invisible, you have to listen for him, and then go get your zombie blood, and then throw your Hell's Retriever at it. It's a whole ordeal. And honestly, the best alternative to this step is just removing it. It adds nothing to the Easter egg besides making you go to a higher and higher round, and in solo you have to give up your monkeys if you did the Warden's House step earlier than 17. Now, comparing these first 3-4 steps to Gorod Krovi, this map just adds things that you don't feel like you need to do. The Gorod Krovi equivalent to what I just described would be acquiring the trophies, Gauntlet of Siegfried, and the Valve step. Also pack a punch. But the difference being, these steps feel like you're building up towards something rather than going on a wild goose chase. Trophies establish the eventual challenges you will complete as you see them build up in Dragon Command. Gauntlet of Siegfried is the specialist weapon of the map, so that's self-explanatory on why you would want it. The Valve step is the only step I could argue that is annoying, but with the resources available today, I'd argue that the step compared to the burst step does more to build up towards something, especially since you get a tangible new item that makes you feel like you're progressing rather than just recovering something you just lost. Now the 3-4 steps you do in Blood of the Dead, while the first 2 steps you are opening up the map, getting stuff ready for yourself. Again, you lose monkeys if you're doing the Warden's House step early. You have to regain the Hell's Retriever, which we've stated isn't really that good in this game. And the bird step is just self-explanatory. That fucking step is stupid. Anyways, moving on to the next part of the Easter egg, the challenges. Blood of the Dead's challenges do not support the layout of the map. At least most of them don't. There are some exceptions to this, but generally speaking, the issue of where you activate the challenge and where the challenge actually is very noticeable. Now, in order to activate these challenges, after you've gained the Chronorium from the bird, you need to bring it to the Warden's house, and the Warden's house will do some crazy animation and show some funny numbers. These numbers you have to punch into the Citadel keypad, where the ugly issue rears his head again. You need to travel from the upper portion of the map all the way down to the bottom portion of the map in order to activate a challenge. Then, out of random chance, it's going to be one of the 5 challenges which are scattered around anywhere on the map. This is an issue, even though some of the challenges are close to where you actually punch in the numbers and shock it, the rest of them aren't. Now, for the challenges themselves, I would say there are only two really good challenges. One is the Banjo challenge in the showers. That one requires you to fill a soul box within a certain period or die. The simplicity behind this challenge and the fact that it's in the showers where zombies can come at you from multiple different directions gives it a good challenge, as in the name, but doesn't feel extremely tedious or feel like I need to do something extravagant in order to fill up this guy's banjo. The other challenge is Michigan Avenue, where I believe this challenge is just hype as fuck. Michigan Avenue is a short escort mission within the cell block and is also activated within the cell block. This is probably my favorite challenge as it is extremely hype seeing all the prisoners cheer you on as you're trying to escort this guy and protect him from all the zombies as you get him from point A to point B. Now, the other three challenges share one common thing that I believe make this Easter egg incredibly tedious and outright annoying. The other three main challenges require you to start at one end of the map to activate the challenge, then go to the challenge, which is on the complete other side of the map, complete the challenge for these locations, which two of them are an escort of some kind, and then return to the original location. Now again, on paper, this doesn't seem too bad. The issue is, Blood of the Dead is so stretched out so much that doing these challenges not only takes a while, but since it is difficult traversing the map mid-round, all these challenges require you to do that in some capacity. Starting with the New Industries challenge, you need to go all the way to New Industries to start this challenge. Once you activate the challenge, go to the library, which is in the cell block. Now, this requires you to traverse across the map, but this isn't as horrendous as you can just take the fast travel into the cafeteria and walk there pretty close by. Once in the library, you can kill a zombie and spawn in this madman with a spork, and then escort him all the way from the library to New Industries to kill him with the fan trap. Seems simple, however, having to walk through the catwalk while managing shield blasts and shocking this man constantly makes for an absolute headache of a challenge, and it ends up being more annoying than an actual challenge. As if you're on multiplayer, it is incredibly simple and easy, but on solo, you have to manage all the zombies running around you, in which it dawns on you. The monkey bombs are a lot more valuable in this Easter egg than the Hell's Retriever. The Docks challenge isn't the worst escort, especially since it's one of the more bearable challenges. You punch in the numbers in Morse code in the warden's office. However, the way you get the Morse code numbers is by looking outside and looking at these lights blink and then figuring out what the number is. However, it is very easy to brute force. So just brute force it, honestly. You don't need to do anything else besides that. Once you brute force it, you need to go to the infirmary and kill a zombie in order to spawn in the escort. Once you got the escort spawned in, you need to feed him souls in order to get him moving, as he will only be attached to your player character. The advantage of this is that you can take the fast travel from the gondola up in the cell blocks down to the docks, as you need to drop him off all the way at the bottom of the docks. So honestly, the only issue with this step is that the starting position, the challenge itself, which I would consider to be the Morse code, and the actual escort are in three completely different areas. And then finally, there's the Simon Says challenge. This is one of two non-escort missions during the challenges you do, and it requires you to start in New Industries, go to the docks, do Simon Says, go back to New Industries, translate the Simon Says, and don't forget the 3 shield charges you need in order to zap the Power Man 3 times for each symbol you acquire after translating Simon Says. Now, the main issue with this challenge isn't that you have to do all that. The issue with this challenge is that you have to spend at one point running to the other side of the map, which is from Powerhouse to the docks. Then, after you do Simon Says at the docks, you go back to the western part of the prison, which takes a lot of time, go into the area above Richtofen's lab, translate what you just got in Simon Says, and then run back to the Powerhouse and shock the Power Man 3 times in order to complete this challenge. Why is this challenge set up this way? It makes no sense and wastes a lot of time just running from one point of the map to gather what you need, only to have to run all the way back to insert whatever you've gotten. Why isn't Simon Says all done within the western part of the prison? It makes no sense for the player to have to run all the way to the literal other side of the map just to do Simon Says, only to have to run back and insert everything they've gotten. At that point, you're just wasting the player's time and just making them more annoyed at doing this Easter egg. The only solution I can see for this challenge, in order to keep the Simon Says and the difficulty of that, is to keep everything within the same area. Keep the entire challenge in West Industries or just in the western part of the prison, and this challenge immediately becomes less annoying. And just to summarize, the main issue with Blood of the Dead's challenges are that you need to constantly traverse the entire map. There's no natural progression from one part of the map to the other. Let's look at Gorod Krovi again. There's 2 escort missions, Bomb Step, Groff Pod, Siege, and Finding Gersh. Both escort missions end up being extremely straightforward, especially with the help from the Raygun Mark III. Groff Pod challenges moves you to an edge point of the map, while all the zombies attempt to destroy a Groff Pod outside the map. You aren't being bombarded this entire challenge as all the zombies are attacking the outside of the map. And the Siege challenge is obviously contained in one spot, as you are only in that one area where Pack-a-Punch is on Gorod Krovi. 2 of these challenges require you to traverse the entire map, that being the Bomb Step and Gersh Orb. The difference from these challenges to Blood's challenges are that, for one, Gorod Krovi is a lot smaller, and the other is that there's not an insane amount of choke points requiring you to waste a lot of resources moving from one point to another, especially the Gersh step, since from what I'm aware of, it doesn't spawn in any new zombies while you're doing it. Back to Blood. Once all the challenges are completed, when the player returns to the Warden's corpse, a cutscene begins. You get knocked out, get put into a prison cell, and the end sequence of the Blood of the Dead Easter egg begins. To be completely honest, this part of the Easter egg is really cool. The Warden locks you up in a cell preparing to put you in the blood machine in order to make his own escape from this realm. You eventually break out with the help of one of the spirits, and you can play this however you want. You can either immediately just kill the Warden and just start blitzing your way through the prison, or you can play this like a Metal Gear Solid mission and just sneak your way through. You make your escape back to Richtofen's lab after you blitz your way through the prison, and as you approach Richtofen's lab, the Warden will cut you off. Then, the spirits of the Bob the Dead gangsters come to save you, and so begins the boss fight sequence. Again, overall, this is where the Easter egg kind of gets really cinematic, which I'm okay with, as after all, this is towards the end and right before the boss fight. Honestly, besides that, I can't really say there's really too much of a negative here, except that maybe if you're speedrunning it, you have to watch this cutscene every time. But besides that, I think this is a really solid way to start and introduce the boss fight. The boss fight itself is okay. It's nothing crazy or anything game-breaking for a Treyarch. Just shooting your shield at an orb and surviving until the end of this gauntlet where dogs spawn and the Warden spawns in multiple times as well. During the boss fight, Richtofen will sacrifice himself and be replaced with another Richtofen that ends up saving everyone. Once this happens, the boss fight is over and the cutscene ends. Honestly, like I said earlier, this fight is a little underwhelming, but it does what it needs to do well enough to give a conclusion to this map. As far as the story goes, I really don't have too strong of an opinion on the Black Ops 4 story in general at this point, as I didn't even really expect them to go into the direction they did with Black Ops 4. I might make a video on that, maybe. I don't know though. Probably not. So, what do I think of the Easter egg overall? In my opinion, I think this Easter egg had a good potential as it didn't have a structure completely different from Gorod Krovi's. I personally like Gorod Krovi's Easter egg. I think it gives a really good challenge and isn't as oppressive as this Easter egg feels. Main issue with the Blood of the Dead Easter egg is that it just feels like it's spit in your face over and over again, especially with that bird step and especially with some of these challenges. You can call it a skill issue or whatever you want, but genuinely I think that is what plagues this challenge the most. I know I said I wasn't going to call back to Mob of the Dead a lot in this video, but I believe that there's something important to mention, especially now that we finished talking about the Easter egg. Mob of the Dead's Easter egg is miles times simpler than Blood of the Dead's Easter egg. Very simple, just going to the plane, going to Pack-a-Punch 3 times, and you also have to punch in the 4 numbers of each prisoner into the Citadel tunnels. Once you do all of that, you listen to the logs and then fly back on the plane in Afterlife form. And this is why I think Mob of the Dead was enjoyed more by everyone. The map itself was kind of difficult, but you had resources to help you out, as such as Afterlife. On top of that, the Easter egg itself is extremely simple compared to the map, and because of that, the map feels a lot more fun to play since this Easter egg doesn't feel like it's very oppressive and looming over you. Blood of the Dead's main issue is that you still have that difficult map and a brand new engine that not a lot of people like or are used to, and this Easter egg is absolutely oppressive compared to its older brother Mob of the Dead. All in all, what do I think about this map? I like this map. Playing through this map is a lot of fun. Again, whenever I play this map, I'm practically never going to be doing the Easter egg. There's no point in me doing the Easter egg by myself, as it's just a waste of time and almost an impossible challenge. Not to say it's not doable, but reasonably speaking, when the speedruns for this Easter egg are around 50 minutes to an hour, I'd rather not waste my time trying to do it by myself. And this is not to bash on the map for it having just a bad Easter egg, because like I said, if you're going for high rounds or just playing this map casually, this map setup and learning curve is really easy to learn once you get it. And past that, as long as it's just not doing the Easter egg, I believe this map is very enjoyable. But all in all, I think that really sums up my point of view on Blood of the Dead. Definitely think it's overhated for the wrong reasons. And personally, I hope that after watching this video, it may have convinced you otherwise on your opinion on Blood of the Dead. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if this gets enough traction and views, I think I'll end up probably doing more videos like this. But anyways, this video has been a long time in the making, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.